It's time to talk about the dark and disturbing Grimm brother version of Cinderella. No fairy godmothers or glass slippers here, just pagan tree worship and mutilation. Side note, if you're a theater kid like me, you probably are already familiar with this version of the story because the musical Into the Woods follows it almost perfectly. So before Cinderella is Cinderella, she's just a girl whose mom has died and her dad has married a new woman who has two sisters. The story begins with the dad going off on a business trip and he asks Cinderella and her two sisters what they want brought back to them. The sisters are like, we want jewels, we want silks, and Cinderella says, I just want the branch of a hazel tree, the first one that knocks against your hat, so I can bury it over my mother's grave. So he brings that back for her and she does that. She buries this hazel stick over her mother's grave and waters it every day with her tears, and it grows into this hazel tree that has magic birds in it that do her bidding. You see this in a lot of fairy tales, and I mentioned it in my video about the juniper tree, where a tree that's over the grave of a dead person is special if it's revered and taken care of in this very pagan nature worship way, and that the birds that live in that tree will kind of be the spirit of the dead person. So in the French version by Perrault, which is what we're most familiar of with the glass slipper and the fairy godmother, the Disney version, and in most versions of Cinderella, the dad dies too, and she's just left alone with her stepmother who's evil. But in the Grimm version, he's not dead. He's there. He just lets all of the bad stuff happen to her. This is something you'll see a lot in fairy tales, is there's evil stepmothers and sometimes mothers, but the dads are usually fools or absent, and either way, no help. So we all know the next part. Cinderella's treated badly, made into a servant in her own home, and things change when the king announces he's doing a 3-day festival that's like with a ball every night. So it's not one night, it's 3, as is often in the Grimm fairy tales, and she wants to go. Stepmom gives her a set of tasks that are impossible, like separating lentils from ashes, and these birds that are magical help her do it. She does the impossible tasks, but she's still like, no, you can't go. So she goes to the magic tree and she's like, hey, I want to go. And where does she get her gown and golden slippers, not glass ones? From the birds in the tree. There's not a fairy godmother who steps in. It's her own devotion to her dead mother that has kind of nurtured this relationship with the birds, where they give her a magical gown and golden slippers. So she takes them and goes to the ball, and there's no like set, oh, the prince is looking for a wife part in the plot. He's just having a ball and she just wants to go and dance. But of course he sees her, he gets obsessed with her, and she runs away from him the first 2 nights. She's like not there for him. She's there to have fun. And the first 2 nights she runs away and she gets away from him. And the 3rd night he decides to trap her by putting pitch or tar or glue on the steps. He tries to glue trap her like a mouse or a spider. But it doesn't work. She gets away, but she's got one shoe that gets left behind, not because it just falls off, because it's stuck in the glue. So the prince goes around looking for who fits the shoe, and here's where it gets really fun. He comes to Cinderella's house, and the first daughter tries it on, and it doesn't fit, so the mom's like, hey, just cut off your toes. Then it'll fit, and you'll never need to walk when you're a queen anyway. So she does. So the prince takes her. He believes it until the birds come along, and they sing, hey, look, there's blood in the shoe. And then he's like, oh, you lied. Brings her back. Second daughter tries it again, only this time she cuts off her heel. And again, it doesn't work out.
When you're his wife, you'll have such a life, you'll never need to walk.
She was helped on the back of the horse by the prince. He noticed blood trickling from the shoe.
So the prince comes back again with now the blood-soaked slipper, and apparently Cinderella has changed her mind and doesn't want to run away from him anymore, and she tries it on and she marries him, and all ends up happily except for the stepsisters, who get their eyes pecked out by birds at the wedding. Although not the stepmother, and I blame her more than the stepsisters and really feel like she's the one who should have had some eye pecking. Because the way the stepsisters mutilate themselves for the prince at the behest of their mother obviously has some major implications about women and beauty and how we harm ourselves for men or for the patriarchy to mold ourselves into something that they want us to be that we aren't naturally. And I pity them for that. In my Snow White video, I talked about Poisoned by Jennifer Donnelly. She also has this amazing book called Stepsister that came out first, and it's based on what the stepsisters do. It opens with the stepsister who cuts off her toe, cutting off her toe, and the rest of the story is her coming to terms with why she did something like that to herself. How can she value herself in a way that is different than having to fit into this form for a man? Super, super recommend it. And as always, I have to plug my own book, Dust Spells by Andrea Lynn, because it is also based on a fairy tale, The 12 Dancing Princesses, which I also have a video about, and you should check it out. Also, my personal favorite Cinderella movie retelling is Ever After from 1998 with Drew Barrymore. Angelica Houston is just, love the adaptation, love the storytelling, love the writing, love everything. So romantic, so beautiful. You should check it out.